Hi there, Mouseketeers. Welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
Did you know that with over 3,000 species of plants, the Disneyland Resort is one of the biggest gardens in the world?
The Disneyland ecosystems are quite magical. If you look at the park as a garden, it has over 3,000 individual species of plants and several distinct ecological areas.
In our last video, we looked at heavily planted areas of the park that, once created, have been encouraged to develop naturally developing, unique ecosystems.
Today, we are going to highlight some of the most significant specimens amongst the 18,000 trees and 125,000 shrubs on the resort property.
Trees that play an important role in the landscape, whether as a historical tribute or as part of the land's narrative elements.
12 important Disneyland trees. Now grab some root beer, let's see if we can stump you or tickle your funny branch.
Oh boy. Like, subscribe, and stick around.
After passing through Monstro's Mouth on the Storybook Land canal boats, immediately look to your right to catch this 2-foot-tall tree in Geppetto's village.
Or, for a better view, wait until you come back around to the scene again.
This tiny tree is actually the oldest living thing in the Disneyland Resort, at over 150 years old.
Like all the other trees in Storybook Land, this tree helps make the miniature villages feel more realistic.
This tree was planted in 1956 when Storybook Land took shape.
And fits in perfectly with our favorite vista on the ride, that of the Tuscan Mountains blending in with the Matterhorn.
How did they plan that? Wow.
While the MUGO pine is the oldest living tree at Disneyland, the more well-known DOMINGUE palm has been on the property much, much longer.
Part of what is now Disneyland was once a large orange farm owned by the Dominguez family.
This famous Canary Island date palm was planted as a wedding gift in 1896 and was cared for by the family for generations.
When Walt Disney sought to purchase the land from the Dominguez family, they had one condition for selling. The tree had to be preserved somewhere in the park.
So the date palm was moved from what's now California Adventure, then the intended parking lot, to the center of Adventureland right next to the Jungle Cruise,
where it sits today, just to the right of the attraction building.
It can be hard to miss from the ground. It's just a huge, solid trunk amongst many.
But that's just because it's so tall. It's a massive part of the canopy, and the rest of the trees have grown up underneath it.
When Disneyland opened in 1955, 19-year-old Ron Dominguez got a job as a ticket taker and eventually became vice president of Walt Disney Attractions.
Now retired, he's honored with a window on Main Street, USA.
The oldest thing in Disneyland is actually over 55 million years old.
The petrified remains of a prehistoric 200-foot tall tree, believed to be a redwood or a sequoia, were preserved millions of years ago when silica-laden water spread throughout the tree and slowly transformed it into sandstone.
Walt acquired the petrified wood in 1956 from a forest in Colorado and gave it as a gift to his wife Lillian,
who turned right around and gifted it to the park because, as she explained, it doesn't fit on my mantelpiece.
It now resides in Frontierland, near the Golden Horseshoe.
And for us, it provides a nice moment to stop and imagine what 55 million years of being a tree on the planet Earth might be like.
And to think about Walt and Lillian and how their marriage helped shape the park.
In 1955, Disney and Little Golden Books released a few picture books to promote the new park.
One of them, The Little Man of Disneyland, was about Patrick BEGORRA, a leprechaun who lived in the very orange grove in Anaheim that was to become Disneyland.
When Mickey Mouse and friends came along with plans to build their magical park, they encountered BEGORRA.
Impressed by their plans, BEGORRA agreed to let Mickey and his pals build the park in exchange for leaving him a tree to make his home inside the park. He wanted to stay.
And during the 2015 D23 weekend, Imagineers placed BEGORRA's home in the park.
If you look at the base of the tree holding the sign for the Indiana Jones Adventure, you'll find a little door, a window, and a chimney.
And if you read the book for your child several times before your first big trip to Disneyland,
and you search in Adventureland with your imagination and all your heart,
get ready for a really special moment with your kids.
The first large fake tree that for years was actually the highest point in the park was Tom and Huck's Treehouse on Tom Sawyer's Island.
But it paled in comparison to the scale of the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse when it opened in 1962.
It was actually quite a bit bigger when it opened than the version we know today. Tarzan's Treehouse has far fewer branches and leaves than the original, but room had to be made for Indiana Jones.
And on opening day, it had red leaves. But because they faded in the sun, they changed them to green fairly quickly.
Disneyland cast members have named the tree Disneydendron semperflorens grandis, which means large and ever-blooming Disney tree.
Like Patrick BEGORRA's tree, it really shouldn't be on this list, but we couldn't help but point it out. Disney has become masters at creating large-scale trees, fitting them together with planters, and placing them next to real trees in order to make it all just work together seamlessly.
And the 2015 refurbishment of the Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom is a masterful example of this.
Horticulturalist Morgan Evans was in charge of landscaping Disneyland from the start.
He and his brother had been a major influence on the layout of the park and the creating of the Adventureland jungle, as well as the Frontierland forest.
When working on the first land to be added to the park, he had to find a tree that was both quintessentially New Orleans and fit in Adventureland so that it would create a transition point between the two.
And the Moreton Bay fig fit the bill. It was in fact the tree that the Swiss Family Treehouse is based upon.
And 4 additional fig trees are placed inside New Orleans Square, and they are salvaged from Pershing Square in Los Angeles.
The iconic fig tree located to the left of the entrance to Pirates of the Caribbean was donated by an oil company and actually has an oil pipe embedded in its roots.
And that pipe is still buried there today.
There are many subtle ways Imagineers transition you from one themed land to another.
One example of this is the rosemary bush on the wall of the Riverbell Terrace restaurant.
Okay, it's not a tree, but this unique potted plant is very interesting to us because it marks the dividing line between Frontierland and New Orleans Square.
On the north side of the plant, there's a white New Orleans-style wrought iron fence.
While south of the plant, it's a wooden fence perfect for Frontierland.
Now that's some powerful rosemary.
In Ray Bradbury's 1972 novel, The Halloween Tree, a group of boys set out on Halloween night to trick or treat, but instead end up on a magical journey around the world.
Along the way, they learn the origins of the holiday that they celebrate and the role that the fear of death, ghosts, and the haunts have played in shaping our civilization.
The Halloween tree itself, with its many branches laden with jack-o'-lanterns, serves as a metaphor for the historical confluence of these traditions.
On Halloween night in 2007, Disneyland dedicated a Frontierland oak tree near the Golden Horseshoe as the Halloween tree.
Bradbury, who helped develop Epcot's Spaceship Earth, had long dreamed of having a Halloween tree at Disneyland and was very excited to be a permanent part of the park.
Every year, the Halloween tree is generously decorated with orange lights and pumpkin ornaments.
It's like the cover of the novel come to life. Truly spooktacular.
Imagineers have found other clever ways to preserve the immersive aspects of the park.
If you're in New Orleans Square, it would throw you off to look across the rivers of America and see a snow-capped alpine mountain.
So in steps the Matterhorn tree.
There is a tree in the hub that is pruned in the shape of the famous peak, so you won't see the mountain while waiting for the haunted mansion.
Or just strolling around the Frontierland harbor.
You can't really tell which tree it is or notice its Matterhorn-like shape from almost any other angle.
But when viewed from Frontierland, this is one important tree.
While Disney's California Adventure is still a relatively young theme park,
Buena Vista Street has a piece of Disneyland history in one of its trees.
The oak tree behind the red car trolley stop was originally planted near the Disneyland Hotel.
So stop and appreciate this living piece of the original Disneyland Resort inside California Adventure.
The famous late winter and early spring blossoms of Main Street and Fantasyland are provided by beautiful trumpet trees.
These trees are native to tropical America and put on quite a show each year, thriving in Southern California gardens.
The trees can also be found all over Walt Disney World, adding pink and yellow blossoms to the parks.
Spring in Disneyland is absolutely gorgeous.
Star Wars Galaxy's Edge isn't even a year old, but we absolutely love that it already has an important tree.
Connecting the narrative of the land to its flora and fauna is a really effective way to make the land more immersive.
According to the backstory of the planet Battu, residents of the Black Spire Outpost make their wishes on this tree located near Savi's workshop.
Batuan tradition states that one should tie a string or ribbon to the tree, and when the fabric disintegrates, your wish will come true.
Well, it is our wish that everybody stays safe and healthy.
And that we can see you again safely in the parks real soon.
We hope you enjoyed today's video.
Please like and subscribe.
We really appreciate you, Mouseketeers.
And have a wonderful Disney day.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
See you real soon.